Hey, congratulations on your new film, A Sad and Beautiful World.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
More of a congratulation is that it's for your consideration film for Lebanon's entry towards the Academy Awards. How do you feel about that?
Well, obviously it's a great honor, and I'm particularly proud because when Lebanese people watch the film, they feel they relate and they identify, and the feedback that they tell me is that this is a film that really represents us in our joys, in our sorrows, in our struggles, our pains. So I feel very proud of carrying this representation into the Academy.
So tell us where the original idea came from as you come up with the story for A Sad and Beautiful World.
So initially, it really all started with uh, it was really revolving around a question about forming a family and bringing children into this world when we live in this overall pessimistic atmosphere when it comes to my generation, as we see, declining births all around the world, and it's a result of climate change anxiety or the financial burden of, uh, bringing kids into this world, and just an overall sense of cynicism towards the future of the planet. And in our region in the Middle East, when I look back at my generation, my parents' generation, or my grandparents' generation, it seems that every generation has had a profound crisis or a major war that they had to overcome or they had to survive. So it really brings the question of, are we bringing children into a better world, and how can we secure a more optimistic future for them? So it's really that question that started the whole development, and I wanted to try to answer it through two characters that are polar opposites. One that is very optimistic and has an intense lust for life and a joie de vivre, and another one that is much more pragmatic and realistic and down to earth, and try to analyze that relationship over the backdrop of the contemporary history of Lebanon.
It's actually very interesting because you make that opposites attract, but how do you want to craft these these characters of Yasmina and Nino, going through their ups and downs, through their loves and conflicts?
Well, yeah, in a way, opposites attract, like you say, but while they start in these as these archetypes in a way. We see them throughout the script exchanging roles, and we see that they bring the best and the worst out of each other. So while he brings out in her this childlike innocence, or this dormant dreamer that was lying in within her, he brings that trait of personality uh, back from her. She brings also some sense of realism and some acknowledgement of his pains, because we see that this is a character that very much denies his childhood traumas, and decides to just shut an eye to that. So she brings the sense of sadness in a way, but a more uh, you know, a more realistic sadness that can help him confront the context that he evolves in.
Absolutely. Now, Lebanon is a backdrop for your film. Can you talk about using Lebanon as this area where they would get into the conflicts, the arguments on whether how the relationship actually grows and decrease and on the decisions that they make in the future.
Yeah, yeah, this is a question that I've had during development with my producers, because there's Lebanese producers on this project, but there's also American producers, and we were arguing uh, or discussing all the time the presence of Lebanon, and how we can analyze this couple regardless of the context, and I was always saying that this couple actually cannot exist outside of the context, and they're very much a reflection of that social and political context that they evolve in, for the simple reason that in Lebanon, politics is never just a background. It's not something that you can shut an eye on and decide to live within, because we are very much affected by everything happening around us. And I think the latest example of this being the war with Israel in 2004 and the regional conflicts with Palestine and Israel, or the civil war in Syria in the past decade, or the port explosion of Beirut in 2020. So it seems that these conflicts or these political tensions always affect our daily lives. And it really makes the question of whether or not we want to stay in this country or we want to live outside of the country an inherent part of Lebanese identity, and a major question that keeps repeating itself in all of Lebanese cinema since the 1970s. Well, no, even since the 1950s, since a Lebanese film that was called Ila Ain, which means where to now. So, it seems that this question is constantly brought up because it is the result of Lebanon with a capital L happening all around us. So that's how all of their dynamics, I think, are very much shaped by the state of the country, and that's why we see that when they fall in love and she starts seeing Beirut with a more positive eye, is when he shows her that Beirut is a good place to be, and we see that there is some kind of stability and prosperity and vibrancy to the city. But cut to 10 years later, and the country finds itself in the midst of political tensions and regional wars. Then all of a sudden, there's this ambient pessimism that makes them question again whether or not they want to keep their family and let their daughter grow in this environment or not.
It is amazing. I mean, a few years ago, I did date someone from Lebanon for very briefly, and she kept on talking about moving back to Lebanon because she says everything is better than Lebanon than the United States. So, perspective is always different from one person to another.
It's quite interesting that you're saying that, because there is this feeling that whoever stayed wants to go out and whoever left wants to come back. So there is a bit this the syndrome of the grass is always greener on the other side. And it is very much this back and forth and this constant questioning, I think, is part of our DNA. It's a place that we love and we hate, and it's very complex and it's all at the same time.
Now, how did you want to craft this story over a span of years, of decades, since their childhood into and where to end a story like this?
That's a good question. I think that part of one of the themes of the film deals with um, childhood and the traumas that we inherit from our childhood, and their childhood traumas really shape their personalities, and these traumas, they chase them all throughout their lives, and it's really only when they overcome these traumas that they can evolve, and their characters can change, and they can find peace and coexistence between the the beauty and the sadness that they both, I think, embody one way or another. So it was quite important to start tracing that the uh, like the birth of these traumas ever since their childhood. And also, it's this will to want to tell this epic love story that spans years and that goes through the ups and downs of the contemporary history of Lebanon, because it reflects also my own vision of my country and my own relationship with the city of Beirut.
Well said. Can you talk about your two lead cast members on how you brought them on board and how you developed the chemistry between the two?
Yeah, I think this was the most challenging task in this film. It was casting, because it's very much of an actor's film, and the whole film relies on the whether or not you believe in the chemistry and you can root for this couple or not. So when it comes to her, Yasmina, she's played by Munya Akil, and Munya is a director. Actually, she's not an actor. She acted in a few short films back then, because we started making films together about a decade ago, and then we kept working together, but behind the camera. She's a director, and I really wrote for her because I was looking for this this person that can at the same time act someone that is quite distant and aloof and cold, and that is putting on a mask to serve as a fortress against feeling anything, or getting anyone um, uh, in her intimate space. But at the same time, while keeping that coldness, you can see a sparkle in her eye. You can see some childlike innocence. You can see a real dreamer, and I think she has both, and that's why I wrote specifically for her. And some of the aspects of the personality of Yasmina were actually inspired by her as a person. And then finding her match was an equally challenging task. And I looked for many, 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 many actors. And I do remember that Hassan, who plays Nino, is one of the last actors that I've that I've auditioned. And when he entered the audition, he told me, "Listen, I'm going through a depression. I don't want to act. I don't want to do this. It's really because you insisted that I'm here." And then all of a sudden, he does the scene and he's full of life and extremely joyful. And I thought this is a person that has very much both, because it has to be someone that you fall in love with instantly when you see him on camera. Uh, and he has to be funny and he has to be full of life and very energetic and all of that. But at the same time, he cannot be just a comedy actor. He has to have also the vulnerability and the willingness to show these weaknesses, and to play the whole game and fall in love with Yasmina. And I cast them together because I needed to test the chemistry. And I remember the first day where Hassan met Munya, he told me it's going to be very easy to fall in love with her. Like, I don't think we're going to have a problem here. So yeah, they played the game all along, and we went out on several dates. Sometimes I was there, sometimes I wasn't there, and they really did all the work of creating their backstory. And we did a bunch of rehearsals, not necessarily on the script itself, but on everything outside of the script, things that happened in between the years, things that would feed their personality, and things that that they would like within each other.
Now, onto the more challenging casting part is that you had amazing child actors in this film.
Thank you.
With the young Yasmina and Nino, them I don't know how you develop a dramatic chemistry between young children, and then you have the daughter in the latter third of the film. I mean, can you talk about directing these young children and getting them to those emotional spaces?
Yeah, that was also very challenging because we're not only looking for child actors that can act, but we're also looking for child actors that look like the main cast and that can act. So, it narrows down the field significantly. So we had to look at dozens and dozens of actors, if not hundreds. And I know I drove my casting director crazy, with the search. But again, it has to be very believable that when you cut from old Yasmina to young Yasmina, that you feel, yeah, this is the same person. They have the same eyes, they have the same energy. And directing them, I think, was, again, I cast them all together. So I cast Nino and Yasmina at the same time. I would pair some actors up to see which two have the best chemistry. When it comes to her, I think she's quite mature, and again, first part, never acted before, so she was like a sponge. She would follow directions exactly as intended, because she doesn't really have any preconceived idea of how acting has to be. So I would really let them learn the lines, of course, but get rid of the lines and try to get what their character is trying to get, using their own words, using their own lines. And we would roll for 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 a very long period of time, you know. So for example, to if the scene had, let's say, 10 lines, I would roll for 20, 25 minutes where they would go their own way and they would strategize as the 9-year-olds that they are to try to flirt with the other character or dismiss the other character or try to convince them to go to the island or you know, whatever it is that they're trying to do. Eventually, you do find the lines you wrote within these improvisation, but I think it's just very important to let them get get there without having, you know, uh, needing to hear an action and a cut. It needs to be that they're playing and they're really discussing the way kids do, and and that's why what you see on screen is a mixture of the lines that I wrote, but also a lot of things that they came up with, which turned out to be much better than the lines that I wrote because they are 9-year-olds. They know how they get what they want. Um, and you know, for him, I I remember very vividly. He's you know, he's such a little force of nature. And when he came for his audition, you know, we talked about the country, his relationship to the country, to his family, to love, of course. And he told me, "Oh yeah, you know, I've had an ex-girlfriend for a number of years, and we used to do this, we used to do that, etc." And I'm like, "Oh, really? You know? And how would you flirt with her? And you know, how did you how did you ask her to be your girlfriend?" And all of that. He's like, "Oh, that was years ago, really. I'm so over it now." But you know, from in his personality, I felt that he really was a Nino. And her with that calmness and her maturity, it felt like you know, an old soul in a child's body, like literally Yasmina would be. So yeah, you know, I had a lot of fun with the kids because it's really just playing the games and following their energy and letting them lead the scene and just play along with it.
And just to circle back, I wanted to know on how much debate that you have with the ending of this film, because it's very much an open ending that leaves us to the imagination of what actually happens afterwards.
Yes, there are some people who are seeing the ending as a very sad ending, something that's devastating, and other people who are seeing it, you know, full of hope and full of love. And I do remember I was presenting the film in Germany in Hamburg, and you know, we were doing the Q&A, and an audience member said something quite interesting that I thought summarizes very well the feeling that I wanted audiences to have. So that person tells me, when I think of what's happening to the characters and what's happening to the country, I cannot help but think that this is a very sad ending, that you know, these characters lost everything they have. They lost each other, they lost their family, their, you know, their businesses. They're really losing everything, so it's really a sad ending. But then somehow I'm feeling so optimistic and so like I want to hug the world and I want to hug everyone that I love, and you know, I'm feeling so refreshed. And how can you explain this disconnect between what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling? And this is, for me, it's the magic of cinema. It's exactly when you feel something that you cannot explain. And um, Robert Bresson used to say that, the French director, he used to say, "I'd rather people felt my films before understanding them." And I think this quote summarizes very well what I would like to achieve through cinema in particular and through art generally. It's that sometimes you feel things that that you cannot explain, and I think that the audience is projecting their own personality and their own interpretation and really their own vision of the world to the ending. So I'm noticing that the more optimistic people tend to see something positive happening afterwards, that whatever happens, you know, whether they left or they stayed, they are on the island, the special place of their own making, where love is eternal, where family are intact, and where, you know, nothing goes wrong. And that island can be Beirut if we choose to see it this way. Other people are seeing it as just a departure from Beirut and a departure into, you know, something that is unknown and that is scary. and which leaves a question mark whether they went together or not. That's the beauty of cinema.
No, that is the beauty of cinema. So let me leave with one last thought. What is the message that you really hope that audiences pick up from watching this film?
I don't know if there's, a specific message that I would say this is the message that I'm intending to give out, but it's more a reflection of how our vision of the world, really, our philosophical vision of the world can shape the relationships around us and can nurture the dynamics of the relationship we have with the people we love. Because, by the end of the day, these are two people that are on paper should not be together, or maybe they should be together because they're so antagonistic in their viewpoints and their uh, positions, towards the state of the world. But it's really what you make of it, and how you nurture these relationships. And also it's a reflection on, or kind of an homage to, the people of Lebanon who find this lust for life and this joy of life, despite everything happening around them, and whose kind of perseverance in finding beauty, despite being surrounded with darkness and sadness and tragedies throughout the past decades, can lead to us saying that it's a beautiful world.
Well said. Well said. Well, you made a wonderful film with a sad
Thank
and
you so much.
beautiful world. So, but thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us, and Godspeed on your journey with the the FYC campaign for this film.
Thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time for this conversation. It was quite interesting. Thanks a lot.
No, it's wonderful speaking to you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.